Anyway, so yes, Edge Radio Australia. Travis is here. It's a travesty. I was going to steal Aaron's hat, but I've lost it. I don't know where I put it. And I forgot to put my jumper back on because I spilled my drink all over my shirt and now it's all wet and moist and it's kind of gross. But we have Derek sitting there with me for the greater wealth. We did have Shak, but I think he's too cool for us. So he's disappeared for a bit. He'll probably jump in and gate crash later, but that's okay. We can get there. We can rock this show, Derek. We can do
this. We've got it.
So how are you today?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, doing well. I tell you, there's been a lot going on this week, and hearts go out to those who've been affected by the cyclones and hurricanes, I should say, in the United States.
I've seen some of the footage, and that's insane. Like I've never knew that a tornado could actually do that. A lot of people don't know this, but where I grew up in Mandurah, we actually had a tornado run through there, through a suburb called Horsehead. I was riding my push bike back from cricket training. Now, I don't think this was the main cyclone, the tornado, but there was like a little micro willy or something. And so I'm racing down the street trying to get away from this thing. And it's grabbed me and it's just flung me into one of the houses. Like I didn't hit the house, just like rolled over the grass because the wind was so severe. But that was scary as shit. And I've seen some of the video footage. Sorry, Derek. That was scary as anything. And I've seen some of the footage from this tornado in America, and it's insane. Yeah. And the bit I find the scariest because tornadoes, like, the cartoons with the Tassie Devil has like, this one's sort of like, it looks like a corkscrew, a drill screw. So it's got this like extra little lip around the edges. Massive. And I've never seen a storm behave that way. So I try not to be one of those conspiracy theorist people, but when you start seeing stuff like that, it's crazy. And you know who else is a massive conspiracy theorist? We have Shak. He's finally made it in. Shaquille, welcome to the greater wealth.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I can hear him, which makes it I haven't failed.
Shaquille, welcome to the greater. I was trying to bring you up on a big screen so I can actually see what you look like with a hairless face.
Oh, I feel naked and cold. Didn't you notice?
I did. I did.
No, but I can't see it very well on my phone, but I can see it on my big screen up here. So
I'm on your big screen, am I?
You are my big 90-inch television. Yes.
Wow, I'm feeling like a little bit inaccurate.
That's it.
Inaccurate. That's or whatever. So, Derek, tornado.
I want to have a look at this to get and capture kind of what has been going on. Trump talks about the storm as coming and this sort of stuff, and it's kind of calm, but in more ways than one. It's quite ironic.
I'll be back. Sorry, guys. I'm going to take this call.
Yeah, sure. There's multi-layers here. Let's have a look at a footage here. This lady has, been affected by the one in Carolina, and let's take a look at her version of the story.
Just so you're clear, I can't see the screen. Is that the right one?
It is. Yeah.
The mouth one. Okay, here we go.
Go for it.
Come on. Add to stage. Oh, here we go. Lagging.
Especially where Biltmore is. If you're headed towards Hendersonville, that whole area looks like a bomb has been set off. But guys, that's not what needs to be covered. I need this video to go viral. I need you all to share this. Share it and tag and share and tag. Get this out. I need this to reach as far west. People, we have communities. We have people in these Appalachian Mountains right now. Right here in these Appalachian Mountains, we have brothers and sisters that are stuck, that are trapped. It has been 7 days. 7 days since Hurricane Helene hit the United States. We've got people trapped in these mountains. And people are asking where our military is. Our military can't do anything until the leader of this stupid country right now signs off on it. So our military is stuck. They cannot put boots on the ground. They cannot hike these Appalachian Mountains. They cannot rescue these people that are in these mountains that are stuck. They can't get to them. They can't do anything. Our military can't do anything because they will not sign the orders to release them. It is up to us, American people, and we are doing everything we can. We got hit in Greene County. Our riverbank is gone. Houses are gone. I need y'all to understand, outside of these Appalachian Mountains, the news are not covering it. They're not telling what it's like. The county above us, Unicoi County, is the county you've seen all over the news where the people were on top of the hospital that had to be rescued. You saw how much water they had. That water came down to Greene County. You all have Sal Newport, Cott County. Dolly was there yesterday. Dolly Parton. That's where she done her press conference where she released, or she's donating $2 million. $1 million out of her pocketbook and $1 million out of her donation, or out of her fund. Guys, East Tennessee and Western North Carolina is 1,000 times worse than the news has made it out to be. There is people, I need y'all to understand, especially coastal states. You all that live in a state that is surrounded by the ocean, that it connects to the ocean, when you get hit with a hurricane, yours involves an ocean. That ocean comes in, it floods you, but it sucks back out. You are still left with your buildings. You're still left with your homes to be able to go in and see if you can salvage anything. Okay? You're left with that. These people aren't left with that. These people don't even have a structure to go back to see if they can save anything. These people don't have anything to go back to look at. It is a concrete slab, and it's here, and it's in Unicoi, and it's in Cott County, and it's across that state line in North Carolina. And I'm going to tell you now, North Carolina is so much worse than anywhere. Those mountain towns, you've got to understand, people live off grid for a reason. They want to keep talking about the death toll. They want to keep comparing this hurricane to Katrina and the death toll. I'm here to tell you now, and I've told other people, and I've talked to news stations, and I'm telling you, this death toll will blow Katrina out of the water. There is people we don't even know who was on those Appalachian mountains hiking them. There is people that live off grid for a reason. We have no idea how many people lived in those mountains. We don't know how many homeless people had camps set up in those mountains. I can tell you now, where I live, there was homeless camps set up all along the river. And now they're gone. And we don't even know if the homeless made it out. We don't know if they're alive. We don't know anything, people. We don't know. You need to understand, there are bodies washing up. This ain't a joke. There is counties in North Carolina that don't have enough body bags. They have already filled thousands. There is one county in particular, they've done filled 1,000 and they're begging for more because they don't have any more. Please do not compare this hurricane to Katrina. Don't even compare what Florida got from Hurricane Helene. Do not compare what they got compared to East Tennessee and Western North Carolina, because I'm going to tell you now, we're not the same. We are not the same. People have asked, why were we not prepared? You can't prepare for something that has never happened. It's the same as asking Florida, why are you not prepared for a blizzard? Because a blizzard has never happened in Florida. I'm in Tennessee. I do not connect to an ocean. There is no reason that we should have had that much damage. Have we ever been flooded by hurricanes? Yes, but nothing like what we just endured. You've got to understand, we didn't have an ocean that come in and then suck back out. We had...
So it's been very controversial in the United States amongst this tragedy that's going on. It kind of brings the reality home when you see someone on the front line who's actually been affected by it. What's interesting is it's come out that Congress has approved of money to go to these people, but Gateway Pundit, a great little publication, has claimed that there are multiple whistleblowers that have come forward to expose the mismanagement of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, that's going on. And apparently, according to a letter from Republican Matt Gaetz, whistleblowers allege that FEMA withheld critical pre-disaster funds and failed to issue deployment orders to first responders leaving Americans stranded in the wake of the storm. And in his letter he sent to the Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, Matt Gaetz outlined a litany of complaints from whistleblowers across federal, state, and local emergency management agencies. They reckon that this has left hundreds, if not thousands, of service members and first responders in limbo, sitting idle in hotels, while the southeastern US is suffering from this hurricane and hurricanes. And that's really, really interesting. Now, there's another video here that has really angered a lot of Americans.
So before we get into the other video, I just want to quickly clarify something for Australians. When you're south of the equator, we get cyclones. When you're north of the equator, you get hurricanes. Now, to put into perspective, the hurricanes up there are generally really, really widespread. So Katrina covered something like 50% of America. That's how big it was. It was huge. But the general winds are nowhere near as severe as what the Australian ones. I think Katrina had winds up to 200 kilometers an hour. So that would be equivalent of our category 3, category 4 cyclones. So our cyclones are a lot more compact, but the winds are much greater in an isolated sort of area. So Cyclone Tracy that took out Darwin was a category 5. My understanding there's only been 2 or 3 cyclones as close to that one in strength, and they're up to 300 to 400 kilometers an hour winds. So when you think about that, that will just take someone off their feet and throw you as far as you can go. So they are extremely dangerous. The biggest risk to America, especially with these hurricanes, because the rain isn't isolated into like one town, it's over an entire county, as that lady was saying. So the entire county gets flooded, not just the town. So this isn't an isolated situation. This is, I saw where the path of it is probably what all of the East Coast got flooded. So, and that's all of the East Coast of America. You look at population, there's probably a couple of tens of millions of people affected by this.
And there's someone on the ground saying we're having to fend for ourselves.
Yep.
There's no FEMA coming in to help rescue us.
How can any leader of any country, even like you go have a look at China when they have a natural disaster, the same day there's hundreds of thousands of people on the ground. So we had a massive storm come through Vietnam a couple of months ago. So there was quite a few people died from that storm, but literally you can still see all the storms in the background. There's already people on the floor clearing the debris, getting people off the streets, things like that. It sickens me when you see the lack of a response from a leader who's supposed to be the most sharpest individual in the world, just sitting on their hands, not signing a release like that. That's criminal in my opinion. So, Shak, welcome back.
Thanks. Look, so I think Australia has somewhat mishandled the bushfires that we had a few years ago, but what we're seeing in the States is appalling. And what makes it worse is the politics of it. Alejandro Mayorkas and KGP have said before that they diverted funds from their emergency programs to help with immigration, and then they get all sorts of upset when people say that you took money and they say, well, it was a different bucket. I mean, the priorities of this Biden-Harris administration are so far out of whack, and what they're doing now is you've got Democrats and the supporters of Harris who are accusing Republicans of politicizing this issue. Okay, well, I don't think that the TikTok videos that are coming out, etc., are coming out from people who are just diehard Republicans and trying to make a political statement. You can tell by their voices, by the desperation in their faces, that these people are hurting, and for them to be allowed to suffer like this is absolutely disgraceful. Forget about all the other things that we talk about, from how much freedom we should have and the COVID jabs and the lockdowns and what the right rate of taxation should be, etc. Forget about all of that. The number one priority, the number one thing for any government is to protect its citizens. That's the number one job that they've got. Protect their citizens and try to create the environment for them to have the happiest lives that they possibly can. And this is an appalling. Everybody in that administration should be absolutely ashamed of themselves that this has been allowed to happen and to go on for as long as it has. And those parts of North Carolina that have been affected, I mean, it has affected a lot of people, but the badly affected parts is mostly in North Carolina, somewhat in Georgia, and somewhat in Tennessee from Helene. And then obviously we've seen some issues in Florida. Now let's have a look at this. You've got Ron DeSantis dealing with the issues in Florida. The state of Florida so well prepared that they were actually able to, as a state, assist some of their neighboring states, and the federal government, can't get in there and do something. It's an absolute disgrace.
So my question is, why don't the military just go in as citizens rather than going in as a military organization?
They have to have that order. Go in.
That's what I'm saying. Go in as citizens.
So we've heard reports that people have been threatened with arrest. And we've also heard, I don't know, I can't verify this or fact check this, but we've heard reports of that. We've also heard reports that FEMA have actually, or FEMA staff have been forced and ordered to actually confiscate supplies from citizens because only they are allowed to put them in there, or the citizens will be putting themselves at risk if they go in. It's just madness. It's absolutely, look, I know this pales in comparison, but when we had the bushfires here, there were, and someone fact check me, I'm sort of going loosely from memory now. There was some charities or some people that were trying to fly planes over the areas that were no longer alight, and what they were doing was they were dropping fruit and vegetables and stuff like that all over there because the animals didn't have anything to eat because everything obviously was burnt, right? And the government stopped them from doing it, and there was a bit of an uproar about it, and then the government relented. But what we're seeing in the States is the same thing. The government knows best, and nobody can go in and help. Nobody can go and do anything. And if people have to die, well, to hell with it. We have to do something to take back control from these government people, because all over the Western world, they have no idea what they're doing. And this is the consequence, that people lose their lives, people at their worst possible moments when they've lost everything. They've lost their houses, they've lost loved ones, they've lost their possessions, and they're desperately hanging on, trying to get some help, and it's not coming to them.
Let me show you this then. Let's look at the FEMA disaster preparedness meeting that has enraged a lot of Americans as it's become public.
This one here?
Yep.
Things in my mind, thinking about preparedness and how you said, LGBTQIA people and people who have been disadvantaged already are struggling. They already have their own things to deal with. So you add a disaster on top of that. It's just compounding on itself. And I think that is maybe the why of why we're having these discussions, is because it isn't being talked about. It isn't being socialized. We're not paying attention to this community. Thank you so much. Maggie.
Thank you. There are a couple of things that are intersecting in my mind here. One of them is the culture of emergency management as an organization, as an industry in the United States specifically, not abroad. This has, and my cat sometimes does this, she gets really loud suddenly, so you'll have to just allow for the little meowing in the background. The shift that we're seeing right now is a shift in emergency management from utilitarian principles where everything is designed for the greatest good for the greatest amount of people to disaster equity. But we have to do more, right? And so this topic is intersecting, I think, with a number of other topics where we have to look at policies and understand to what extent they have disadvantaged communities that had less assets, communities that had pre-existing vulnerabilities in accessing disaster-related recovery supports.
So there you go. You see the contrast of the woman on the front line in the disaster. And this is what's going on. The FEMA organization that's enraged Americans that they're just going, this is, forget about someone's sexual orientation and that sort of stuff, or minority groups. People are dying, people. Can we help them? That's what should be the topic of discussion. And you've got all this politics that is going on in these meetings while people are dying. Is this
a parody? Is this real? Is this like, are we sure this is an AI or something?
And this, well, they've got all their pronouns in the video as well, in terms of their titles in the meetings and stuff like this. This is.
Are you sure this isn't like an AI generated video just to try and? Please tell me this is not where we're at in society today.
On X.
So the bit I think
I'll check out who's actually posted the original one, but bear with me as it loads.
So my takeaway on that, first of all, hurricane, cyclone, whatever, doesn't give a shit about what gender you are.
Yep.
It will wipe out everyone regardless. I don't understand. You're doing a Zoom meeting. Why have you got a hand sign language person there for the death?
It's just nuts.
Like
this is what is enraging Americans. That this is where the billions of dollars that are supposed to help people on the ground is going to support. This is what's going on internally for this organization. That's what they're dealing with.
The he/they guy wants us to have a conversation about the added pressure of a tragedy that the LGBTQ community has to deal with on top of all the other oppression that they have. And the she/they, feminist, whatever she was, talking about how it intersects with other issues and blah, blah. Give me a break. you guys remember during COVID, for those people who actually wanted to get the vaccination, there were parts of America that were reported to be saying that we need to have, if you're white, you can't have the vaccination because COVID affects people of color or some shit. We need to have vaccination equity. I'm sick and tired of this. And I really hope that the majority of Americans are.
Yep.
If that's real, I'm actually struggling to believe that that's real. But if that is, you know what, that's where we're at today. We can't even tell if something like that is real or not. If that's real, and it probably is, I mean, I'm lost for words for once.
So, Damo, listening on the Edge Radio Twitch account, a number of veterans I trust are telling me that, telling me it's true that FEMA is stopping people giving aid or helping. So that tells me if FEMA are stepping in and stopping them from being able to interact and do what needs to be done, I'm dumbfounded that they're taking it to this extent. Like, I always remember there was a couple there was the bushfires down in Yarloop. There was like I said, the tornado in Mandurah that was a part of Walpole down south again. There was some flooding in the river down there. When those things happened, the politicians just, oh, great, this is a photo opportunity. They flew in there immediately. They took their photo, said, right, signed the immediate aid there and then. Even before they landed, generally they were landing with the military people for the photo shoot, because it's like, look at us, look how productive we are. Then you have a look at the Biden Harris administration. What is it, 7 days and they still can't help? Like, if you wanted to be seen as a proactive government and someone who's like for the people, wouldn't you be there front and center
with an election
on the ground?
With election a few days away.
Don't pretend to help them. Like, that's not your job. Your job there is to guarantee that you don't get the boots on the ground to help. You don't get the people out of the mountains. Mm-hmm. And then the compounding thing is that this is a bit I took away from this from the lady. How many people were off grid and homeless? Mm-hmm. Not by choice, but like she was saying, all the homeless camps. So I'm from WA, the south of Perth. There's a town down here called Rockingham, where I remember when I was running one of my campaigns, I got asked to come out to one of these camps to talk to the homeless people, because Rockingham had a really bad homeless situation. This is going back at 6 years ago. Anyway, so I went there and I actually went into the camp and had to talk to these people. A lot of them were there because personal reasons, like there was a couple there that their kids were in Rockingham, but if they were getting help to find housing like north of the river, they couldn't have access to the kids. They couldn't see them. So it was a choice to be homeless down in that area, where others, they just, for whatever reason, they couldn't fit in. They were all sick. They all had like little scars and scabs on them. They were all scratching. They were all filthy. Most of them were there not by choice. They had nowhere else to go. Now, I can imagine seeing the amount of water that comes out of a cyclone going through that camp. There'd be nothing left. There would be absolutely no way these people would be able to survive. Mm-hmm. So imagine, like, bushland gives a sense of privacy to the homeless people. I can the statement that there'd be thousands of people dead, like the homeless dead there, I think that's going to be a massive understatement, to be honest with you, considering the housing crisis that's in America at the moment. I genuinely believe that it's going to be tens of thousands, and when you get that many deceased people, disease becomes a major issue. How they cannot have the military literally on the ground pulling the dead away, pulling the debris away. This would be, for me personally, this would be a deal breaker. If I was a hardcore Democrat supporter, for them not to care about people to this extent, that would be a massive deal breaker for me.
Well, but they didn't care that much about the bushfires that happened in Maui, you know, and Kim Kardashian posted something about being in the ocean, calms the fire in my heart or some crap. When there were reports coming out that people in Hawaii were throwing themselves into the ocean so that they don't burn to death, or to reduce the heat that they were experiencing. The East Palestine train derailment that had a massive chemical spill, and Biden did nothing about it. And Pete Buttigieg, who was in charge of it, didn't even bother going. I mean, this administration has done nothing. I mean, it's not our country, thankfully, but this is the leader of the free world. This is our most important ally. This is the country that we rely on to protect us. The fact that they're carrying on like this.
Well, the question is, what is in those mountains? And that's the question. What's coming out? Let's have a look at this another video. Now, this one, apologies for this person's got a bit of the language going. I know you guys are worried about that.
There's nothing wrong with the language.
But let's bear in mind that
while you're doing that, I'm going to send you guys another video, so I'm just going to go off screen for a minute, but I am watching.
Yep. Let's have a look.
This one here?
Yep.
From Little Rock, Arkansas, University of Arkansas Plasky Tech, Diesel Academy. You're going to want to pay attention to this one. So who is going to inspect the homes that are damaged or gone in North Carolina? Well, recently, brought to me by the American thinker and my brother Mike, who sent me the story. If you go to the FEMA contract page, you will notice, if you search for home inspections, that two companies appear. One is Vanguard, and the other one is WSP, who is a Canadian company that is mainly owned by the Canadian Pension Board. Almost, right at a little over 18 million shares, or represents 15% of its ownership. Now, the other piece of the puzzle of who owns WSP is two companies that we well know. One of them being Vanguard. Oh, by the way, this is all speculation because it's truth, right? You can only speculate because it's true. The other company that owns it is Vanguard. They represent almost 3% of the ownership of WSP, right at a little bit over 3 million shares of that company. And the other company is that good old company called BlackRock. Now, BlackRock owns just a little over almost 2.5 million shares, and these numbers are easily looked at if you look at the Wall Street Journal ownership. I don't know, Wall Street Journal, I got it written down here somewhere, but who knows? I fucking can't, sometimes I can't read my own writing. Fair enough. All right, y'all see me do my tweet faces yet? You'll catch them in my videos, okay? So, Vanguard Inspection Service, right, which is not to be confused with Vanguard Group, seems, speculation, to be solely in the business of working with FEMA. Now this same company, WSP and Vanguard, is also going to be deployed to Florida to inspect homes for FEMA, where they'll give you a free inspection, much like they will in North Carolina. Now, how does this all relate to the speculated concern that this shit was done for lithium? I'm so glad you asked. Now, it's important that we understand what is the market cap of lithium. Well, in 2022, it was right at $38.2 billion, right? A little chunk of change. You can buy a lot of gay porn with that for sure, okay? And speculated now by 2031, that value, that market cap for lithium will be $230 billion. Almost, I don't know, 800% increase in the next 9 years. A little bit of demand. And as you know, in North Carolina, there's this little company called Albemarle. And Albemarle is a major lithium producer in the state of North Carolina. Matter of fact, they got a little game plan already back in August or so to open up or reopen what we know as Kings Mountain, a lithium mine there in North Carolina. Now, I'm not specific about where the area is, but it's in North Carolina. And get this, they got $150 million of our money from the Department of Energy to do this. But they met a little backlash. See them hillbillies up there? Yep, they got hillbillies in Arkansas too. They're all over. Did you ever notice that they took the Indian off the butter, but they kept the land? That's kind of what we got going here, right? And so, them hillbillies, though, they protested. Hey, look here, you sons of bitches. We like our land. And so they have been delayed in opening, and they've met conflict with the opening of the lithium mine at Kings Mountain. Now, here's the kicker. On August 31st of 2024, that's like 2 months ago, right? Because we're in October. I don't have my shoes off. I can't count. On August 31st of 2024, as reported, that the company BlackRock, right? Oh, BlackRock, not to be confused with Blackhawk, but BlackRock, acquired an extra 2,220,059 shares of Albemarle to bring their total portfolio power and ownership of Albemarle to 183,614 shares of the company that is now reopening a mine at Kings Mountain. And get this, not only do they own shares of the lithium mine company, but they also own a lot of shares of the people doing the home inspections. Go fucking figure. Speculation, because it's the truth. If I wanted to take over your land, right, and there was a natural disaster caused by natural disasters, a hurricane that came in land over 500 miles, I would probably want to be part of the home inspection process in North Carolina, especially if I both owned the home inspection companies, large percentages, billions of dollars, and then I owned millions and billions of dollars of what those homes represented that they were sitting on, which is probably one of the greater lithium mine discoveries in North America, along with one we have here in Smackover, Arkansas. Except we get ours from brackish water, right? Did you know when you bubble that water pipe, all right, that you could take that water out and then dehydrate it and get your dope back? But that's kind of what we do. That's how we make our lithium down here in Arkansas, you know. Rednecks and meth capitals, goat fuckers, 2-dick goat fuckers. But yeah, and that's the facts, Jack. You see, BlackRock not only owns the home inspection company that the federal government and Vanguard, okay? They
I think he's trying to
specific
make a
company
point
for
for
it,
you,
right?
I think,
And
guys.
get this, why in the fuck is Canada involved?
Some big claims and a lot of mistrust from Americans. That's what's coming out. And look, we'd have to go in and check on those purchases and whether those shares and what he's claiming is actually true. But there are, this is not the first time I've heard it. People going, what's in those mountains?
Yep.
What do they want? What is it that's either trying to cover up, or what land are they trying to take over? And that's the big concern. That's what a lot of the talk is regarding this situation.
So
I think, sorry, you go for it, Travis.
my concerns here is I don't know if America's the same as Australia. I believe that if you purchase your home, you should be able to do what you want with it. Like, you shouldn't have to answer to the government on anything you do on your home. So building approval permits and all that sort of crap shouldn't exist. To have a company to have that sort of authority, it just screams conflict of interest in my head. And this is coming from someone who hates the government, but without putting more government regulations in, and I'm sounding like a liberal here, like I am a Democrat here. Major corporations shouldn't be able to do stuff like this, especially when it comes to housing, like valuing how much damage is done to your house. So personally, I feel you should be able to choose whichever company. So if you let's say your house is damaged during a tornado or a cyclone or hurricane, you shouldn't be forced, right, you have to go to one of these two companies.
Saying they're doing it for free. And you got to remember that people can't get the approval from FEMA on the application of $750 right?
Yeah.
A lot of them it's failing. They try to apply for it, can't get through. If they have insurance, they're knocked back. Well, a lot of them have been knocked back.
Yep.
Some get $330 or $350 or whatever it might be.
Yep.
I mean, what's that going to buy you? One meal, with the cost of food these days. If you've got a big family, right? Yep. That gets you 1 week of groceries, if that.
Well, you haven't got power, so
exactly.
you can't store it anyway.
So this is what is going on here. Also, got to bear in mind that in Australia, as I understand it, you don't actually own the land, what's underneath the ground,
no,
right?
Don't.
Whereas in the United States, you do.
Yep.
Right? You buy the land, you also own what's underneath the surface of the soil.
Yep.
And that's the real interesting part here in terms of what are they sitting on.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
okay, look, hang on, guys. Let's just back up a little bit. I'll help you out firstly, Travis, with what you're a Democrat now. I think that the small government libertarian types like myself, we say the government's role is to be an umpire, right? So yes, we don't want there to be too many regulations, but I don't think that anyone's advocating for there to be no regulations. We're not anarchists. We don't want there to be no government, right? And the type of Murray Rothbard type libertarian utopia sounds like complete hell to most reasonable people, So I don't think that asking for government to be an umpire in these sorts of circumstances is becoming a lefty. I know Kings Mountain actually very well. Derek, our mutual friend, that's where I met with him in Kings Mountain, so I know the place quite well. Actually met with the mayor and the treasurer while I was there. A couple of things. One, even if the houses were deemed to be uninhabitable, they still own the house and the land that it's sitting on. It doesn't mean that they just get to lose it. That's not quite what's going to happen. Secondly, my understanding is that these house inspections are being done for free because the government has a contractor. I don't think that this company is just offering to do it out of their own pockets. That's not what I think is occurring. Thirdly, I think the gentleman has sort of put 2 and 2 together and come up with 5. To be honest with you, BlackRock and Vanguard often get a lot of criticism for what appears to be conflicts. I just want to remind everybody that BlackRock is an asset manager, and so is Vanguard. Now, BlackRock is always, I'm not trying to defend BlackRock here, but BlackRock is constantly accused of, they're very aggressive, for example, with their real estate purchases in London, and they own all these different assets. But it's actually not BlackRock themselves that own these assets. If you have a look at BlackRock's market cap, it's gone up by now probably, but last time I looked at it, 6 months ago, their market cap's about 80 billion, but they actually getting billions of dollars worth of assets around the world. So they're an asset manager in the same way that banks are. Vanguard is another one. Vanguard owns, 10% or, between 5 and 10% of most major companies in Australia, but they own it on behalf of other investors. So I think that what he's doing is he's sort of overstating things a little bit. I mean, he brings up, well, what does Canada have to do with it? Well, the Canada Pension Fund has invested in this company. So what he's talking about is there is a company that's out there that's listed on the stock market, and there are international investors like the Canadian Pension Fund that has invested into that. We here in Australia have a fund that for government workers, I think it is, that invests in things around the world. So I think he's probably reading a little bit too much into that, to be honest. But you're right, there is a lot of mistrust and distrust in government and big corporations, and they should try to do something about it, because when the public loses faith, this is what you end up with.
So I do have to say thanks to Robin from Courage is the Cure. She's joining in, so make sure you hit up her on the YouTube and Facebook. And also Damo on the Twitch. He's got on fire today. So if you do have any questions, make sure you flick them through. So Damo, the government is not coming out and saying why Ukraine gets X amounts of dollars compared to help offered in this current crisis. That's actually a really, really good point.
I also find it interesting.
Kamala Harris put that tweet up on the same day as reports were coming out from North Carolina that people were only able to access $300 and things like that, and that Mayorkas had said that FEMA may not have enough resources to get them through the entire hurricane season. On the same day, she tweets how wonderful it is that they sent $147 million to help the people of Lebanon. Now, I have no objection to wanting to help people in Lebanon, as they're going through this, very benighted time. But talk about being tone deaf.
The one I always love is you got to help your own backyard before you help other people. America has major problems on the horizon. You've brought this one up as well, Shak. The Medicare accounts haven't been taken into account for a lot of the national debt. Their economy is not looking good. They got constant competition now from the BRICS nations as well. And they're throwing money around like it doesn't exist, like they're just on print some more. Yep. And I can't see how any of this is actually going to help the everyday people on the ground.
Have any international countries offered the United States help in this situation?
Of course not.
Right.
Never.
Nobody's, I mean, how many times has the US said, hey, we'll help in this national disaster? And not, to my knowledge, not one country has stood up and said, hey, America, we'll help you now that you're hurting. I mean, that's what's getting me right now.
It always reminds me of what's the cartoon, the TV show, Team America? The ones with the puppets. Well, America's the world police.
Mhm.
So America is like effectively the World Bank. So if a bank was ever in trouble, would you ever go bail them out? No, you got yourself into it, fix it yourself. So this is like
I don't think that that's fair, guys. In Hurricane Katrina, people from all over the world volunteered to help, including Australians that actually flew over there at their own expense. So the United States does get a lot of assistance from the international community at tragic times. This particular circumstance, it'll be different because obviously there's limited access to a lot of these areas in the first place. And so what can anybody do at the moment to assist right now? But I would suspect that other countries will send volunteers to assist them. So I think just at the moment, because they're still facing hurricanes and the hurricane season hasn't finished, there's probably some risk factors there that's preventing that help from coming.
Should we go to a brighter note? Should we go to something else?
Before you go on to a brighter note, I've actually just dropped a video in there. It only goes for 20 or 30 seconds. And it's a mudslide that occurs in North Carolina, and I just want people to see, just so that they can actually see sort of some of what people are dealing with over there. Would you mind bringing it up for us, please, Travis?
Yep, I haven't got my correct glasses on, so it's a little bit hard to see the screen. Let me
Go up one. Go up one.
That one there. Oh, that's it there. Let's chuck this one in, and we go.
It helps if you share the screen with the rest of us.
Share the screen. Share the screen.
Yeah, hang on, give me a moment. Remember, I can't see what I'm doing here. This is so much fun. And the people that are listening on the radio side of things probably going, what the hell are these idiots doing?
Well, not three idiots, just you.
Right. There we go. Then we go over here, and then we go boom. Damn, that dude's lucky.
I'm okay.
My car's gone.
I'm okay. It's okay.
The everything's gone. It's all gone.
It's okay. It's okay.
Are your parents okay?
They're okay.
Was anybody in the gym?
It's okay. It's okay.
Wow.
But just to see how quickly that just it's green, it's a green hill, and then bang, just like that. It was that's quite something, isn't it?
The force that it hits with is what I found scary. Because if that hit someone, they'd be gone. They'd be done.
Oh yeah.
Because you hear the dude say, "Oh, the black car's gone." Like, it's just gone. It's there 1 second, next
Washed away.
So that's thanks for showing us that, Shake. That's insane.
Mm.
So anyway,
this is the heartbreak of it, as I said. I think we all share the view, and I'm sure that all of our viewers share the view. You know, things happen, tragedies occur, weather events occur, bushfires occur. You know, there's little that people can do, especially with hurricanes. There's little that the government can do to stop that. And you know, I accept that. You know, they don't know exactly where it's going to hit, so there's going to be a slight delay in getting assistance and resources there. But you expect that assistance and resources to be available, and they're not. Why can't you fly little drones up into the mountains? So one, you can see where people are. But my understanding, and I'm not an expert on this, but my understanding is that you could actually have drones that can drop things off. So you can actually drop like little emergency medical kits, little emergency food and water kits, and things like that, so people have something that they can survive on until other help can arrive. Just something that's a little bit more proactive. The idea that now that we actually have the internet, that we're actually seeing people who are jumping on their phones and sending us, sending to the world videos, telling the world how desperate they are. That's difficult to watch. It's difficult to hear. That's happening to human beings in supposedly the wealthiest and greatest country on earth.
They have drones that can carry a human, Shaq. So there's no reason why they can't send a drone up there to actually pick these people up and pull them out.
Sure.
Yeah,
but at very least, the smaller drones that I'm referring to, at very least you could drop, emergency supplies to people, because you might save the drones that can pick people up for the people that are really badly injured, but you could still drop supplies and things like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert on emergency management, but this is disgraceful. No matter which way you cut it.
I think it's Liverpool in the UK. They actually have, so let's say someone has a heart attack. They actually have emergency drones that will actually fly to the person, drop off all the resources, and even things like the chest palpitation things, the defibrillators. Thank you. So they already using them for emergency situations in the cities. So there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't be dropping off resources and all that sort of stuff. So it dumbfounds me how unprepared America was in this situation.
There was a video of some kid, and I haven't seen the whole thing, but apparently it was a kid with his or her I think it was a girl, and it was her grandparents. They were on a rooftop or something, and they didn't get the help. And I think she survived, but the two grandparents died, or something like that. I mean, I'm sure there's heaps of stories that are similar. What's going on here? I mean, what would happen if we were to be attacked? What would happen if the United States got attacked by an adversary, or if we here in Australia got attacked by an adversary? Is our government just going to let us all fend for ourselves? Is that the plan? Because if it is, here in Australia, how about you give us our gun rights back? Because if you're not going to defend us, let us do it ourselves, right? And don't call us conspiracy theorists. Don't say that all the preppers that are out there, buying, canned food and building underground bunkers for themselves and all that. Don't call them conspiracy theorists when you're showing that you can't even, that you're not prepared to help and do anything for people. I'm actually quite angry and agitated. I might just take a breath here and let Derek do some talking for a moment.
You want to go to something a little bit lighter?
Let's go to a different story, shall we?
Is it this one here?
Yeah, let's have a look at this. So I wish Aaron was on the show today, because
he's coughing up a lung in the other room.
I know, it would have been perfect for him. But could you imagine what it would be like if you could?
Sorry, I can't help myself. It's COVID. He should have had the vax.
It's funny because Rosie's head back and laughter because I can see him. He's in the producer's studio, but he started laughing and then coughing out at the same time. So yeah, all right.
What if
now he just flicked me the bird through the window? See, look, he's coughing. All right, time for the video. Anyway, you were saying you want Aaron to see this one?
I would love Aaron to see this one, but when he's well enough. What if interest on car loans was tax deductible?
Well, I would argue that in some situation it is. But anyway.
Announcing that as part of our tax cuts, we will make interest on car loans fully deductible. So a man who's, a lot of you people are in the car industry. Actually, I met a lot of them backstage. What do you do? I'm in the car industry. But a lot of them, and I told him about it. He's a very knowledgeable person. He said, here's a guy, he's done it all his life. He's sitting right over there. I don't want to embarrass him. But he said, where did you come up with that idea? That's the coolest thing. It's like the paperclip again, right? It's like the paperclip. Somebody comes up with the paperclip and everybody says, why the hell didn't I think of that, right? Somebody came up with a paperclip, I guess made a lot of money, and other people said, gee. But he said, I've been in the car industry all my life. I've never thought about that. So we're going to make it fully deductible, the interest payments. That's going to revolutionize your industry. This will stimulate massive domestic auto production and make car ownership dramatically more affordable for millions and millions of working American families. This is a phenomenal thing, if I do say so myself. Who likes that idea? Isn't that great?
I just started thinking, what car would you buy if you could do it as a tax write-off? You know what I mean?
Well, I know what I'd buy.
See, I still wouldn't. I'm a little bit strange. I love my old cars. So I'm driving at the moment a 95 Hilux, and I drive it because it pisses off all the greenies. But it's just, say Aaron, on the other hand, would probably buy a Porsche.
Okay, but Travis, he's not tailoring He's not tailoring this tax plan for you. He's tailoring the tax plan for the everyday person. And actually, I think he's tailoring the tax plan for the banks, because I think he wants to shore up a bit of support from them. I'm gonna say, look, this is one of the very, very few times I'll say something like this. I think he's pushing his tax cuts a little too far in some ways, because he does have to actually address revenue at some level. However, I fully support the tax cuts, because given the choice between tax cuts versus tax increases that Kamala Harris is talking about, I think tax cuts will give a big boost to the economy. Now, how long that'll be sustainable for, I don't know. And he's going to have to do something to get the revenue from somewhere else, and tariffs, I don't think, will be a sustainable solution. But, you know, the fact that he is talking about no taxes on tips, which Kamala Harris stole, no taxes on overtime. What a wonderful idea. Most people misunderstand the tax code on this, and they think that they're paying more tax when they do overtime. That's not actually quite how taxes work. But, yeah, they will see a higher headline rate on their overtime because it pushes them into another tax bracket. No taxes at all on overtime. So if you've got a job and you want to do extra hours because you need to save up money for your kids' shoes, or you want to put money aside so you can go on a holiday, you know, once a year with your family, or whatever you want to do with your overtime, the government's not going to take any of it. That is fantastic. That is wonderful. They should extend that to people that have, you know, multiple jobs and stuff like that. That is absolutely brilliant. And yeah, making interest on motor vehicle purchases tax deductible is fantastic. They already, for a lot of people here don't know this, but you actually already get a tax deduction on home ownership in the United States. So that's already deductible against your income, which is something that they should consider here, for at least for people's first homes or their main home. But yeah, I think that's wonderful.
So
I think I'm going to go to the United States. This is brilliant. If Donald Trump comes in and slashes taxes like this, beautiful.
I personally think I don't know if it's going too far, because do they pay stamp duty on purchasing a new car in America?
Yeah, but not like here.
Okay, because I was going to say, if it was like here, the same stamp duty, I think it's a brilliant idea, because if you need a car, you don't buy one anyway. So if you're already purchasing a car and your stamp duty is based on the value of the car, so you're paying, let's say you're paying $1,000 stamp duty, you're buying a $50,000 car, you claim a small portion of it because it's a dual purpose, business and personal use. You know, you keep to your budget. So you got $1,000 worth of income for the government from the stamp duty on it. The bank will be paying interest, or not interest, tax on the income that they get. You know, so that's roughly where you're at. So per year, I don't know, maybe $1,500 per year income for the bank. Sorry, the government. So let's say you make it 100% tax deductible. So all of a sudden they're able to buy an $80,000 car. So the stamp duty goes from $1,000 to $1,500 anyway. You're claiming the full amount. Interest on that $80,000 car per year, let's say, is $5,000. So you're not paying tax. Like, it's a total write-off. So let's say you get 30% back on that $5,000 a year tax you're paying. So that's when you're losing effectively $2,000, but you don't be making anywhere between $2,000 to $3,000 anyway. So and again, these are just really, really quick, rough figures.
Your maths is a bit off, but look, the thing is that it's not just, people may not upgrade the car. They may continue to have a vehicle of the same value, but what it does is it gives them more money in their pockets, which is what they need in a cost of living crisis that they have in the US. But more importantly, because you're going to see more sales and more turnover of vehicles, and don't forget that new vehicles in the United States, the second-hand market, when vehicles get old enough, they've got other countries that they can ship their vehicles to. You know, for example, Mexico and some of the Southern American countries, you know, that all drive left-hand drive like they do. So, you know, they can see those new purchases, which means that you're going to be employing more people in the factories. You're going to be employing more salespeople in the car yards. We all love them, right? You're going to be employing more service people, more people for tires and spark plugs, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to be employing a whole heap more people, all of whom have to pay taxes on their incomes. So that is a wonderful boost to the economy. And I'll just say this. I mean, people know that I have a bit of a a love for some for supercars and things like that. Now, the prices over here are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, over there you can get vehicles that'll cost you $700,000-800,000 here, $1 million here, will cost you $200,000 or $300,000 there. Now, I know that that's not the price point that most people are at, but I just want to say something. Around 10 or maybe 15 years ago, I had a friend of mine. They were dual citizens. They were American and Australian, and they were in California for a bit. And they sent me a picture of the car they got their 16-year-old, and it was a Ferrari. It was a Ferrari California convertible. And I'm like, hang on a minute. So I go to Barbagallo Ferrari in Aussie Park, and I was like, hey, like, do you have any of these? I just wanted to see the car. And from memory, it was something like 600 grand, okay? Or 700, no, yeah, 550,000, something like that, right? So I ring my mate back. I'm like, I didn't think you had that sort of money. He goes, no, we got a lease. They were leasing a Ferrari for their 16-year-old. It was costing them $650 a month. Now, if you buy a new car here, like if you buy a Falcon or they don't have Falcons anymore, but you know what I mean. If you buy a new car here, you're probably paying $400 or $500 a month in repayments. Now, again, not everybody can afford $600 a month, but a lot of people can. And if you're a kid and you've got a part-time job or something while you're at school and your parents have got a bit of extra money, $600 about $150 a week to drive in a Ferrari, this would be the coolest kid at school. So I said that to him, and he said, no, the problem is that 6 other kids at the school have got Ferraris as well for the same reason, because they were that cheap. But here's the thing. They can have things like that, or they used to be able to have things like that, that was more accessible to people that maybe had a higher income, way more accessible than what it is here in Australia. So you start making interest payments deductible and lease payments deductible and things like that, you're going to see a boost to the economy. Versus Kamala Harris, who says, the best way to boost the economy is for me to take money out of your pockets and spend it on some other shit that you don't approve of.
I have a preference for Trump every single day of the week because don't know if you can see it above. No, you can't see it above Derek's head. There's a WRX rally spec Impreza up there, and it's gorgeous. And I know for a fact that I wouldn't be able to afford that car these days. So, but someone else who has jumped into the stream, haven't seen him for a while. Josh, welcome back. We need to elect an Australian government interested in cutting taxes. I just think reasonable.
Don't hold your breath, Josh.
Reasonable tax cuts will promote manufacturing again in Australia, and when you're value adding to a product, is generating income correctly rather than just doing what we've been doing, just digging dirt out of the ground, sending it offshore. It's not really helping that much. It is a quick injection of cash, but it's not going to make us sustainable in the long term. And I'm not talking about environmentally sustainable, economically sustainable.
Well, it's also subject to those countries still buying it from you too.
Correct.
Right?
So
their economy's changed.
Well, let's talk about the environmental impact on this. And somebody, maybe I'm the dumbass, somebody on the left who watches our show. Do we have any lefties watching our show? Just explain the logic of this to me. Let's pull the iron ore out of Western Australia, ship it to China. China then turns it into steel and then ships it back to us. How can that possibly be better for the environment than shipping it from Western Australia to Adelaide and then getting it turned into steel there? Yes, I'm talking to you, BHP and BlueScope Steel. What the hell is that? And you know what? I don't blame BHP and BlueScope for it because it's probably being done because of some stupid regulation or some nonsense the government came up with.
Perfect. So, final says, because Aaron's given me the wind up and we're about to go over time. So, Derek, final thoughts, 30 seconds.
I think you
are sexy. Thank you. Oh, thanks.
And that's your 30 seconds up.
There we go. Thanks for that, Travis. You notice the only one who's laughing is him. What I was going to say now is just pales in comparison to that. I think you can't just rely on government to fix you and bail you out of a situation. So that's what big takeaway that I'm telling a lot of people at the moment in terms of seeing some of the footage that's going on. Just don't hold your breath. And the more in that situation rural they are, the more they needed to be more independent as well. It's just highlighting the point.
All right, awesome. And Shaq, 30 seconds, go. Well, 25.
Look, I thought Donald Trump was a bit caustic and maybe didn't have the right temperament to be the president back in 2016. Since then, I've had much more admiration for him, and I like the way that he ran the country between 2016 and 2020. And at this point, I've got to tell you, I can't think of a better world leader than him. I think he is absolutely brilliant. I think he's the right person for the job. And if America's so keen on exporting things, bring him to Australia. We'll take him if they don't want him.
Spot on. Anyway, this has been the Greater Wealth on Edge Radio Australia. We're going to be 10 seconds over, but I don't care. And stay tuned. Listen live at 89. edgeradioaustralia.com.au. Aaron's having a laugh over that one, and we're done. Nearly said the call sign for the old station that fired me.